Black,
Yes.
Connerly,
Yes.
Cross,
Yes.
Esposito,
Yes.
Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live, and
Haggard,
we're going to be covering here as soon as it goes live here in just a little bit the
Yes.
the repeal. We're looking for the repeal of Florida's Wrongful Death Act 768.21. Got an interesting guest that'll be speaking there today. Let me turn the volume down further here. One of the reasons why we are covering this live ourselves as well. This is also, this effectively prevents many families from suing for wrongful death and medical malpractice in the state of Florida. Cases which is why critics call this the free kill law, because it leaves certain patients without legal recourse.
All right, Representative Albers, you're recognized to explain HB 585, former phosphate mining lands by Representative.
Okay, we still have not got to it as of yet there, so I want to give you guys a little bit of backdrop there. And I don't want to miss this. I know around 4:30, it could be even as later for the next hour. So we are certainly want to keep up with this here. Let me see if I can't just share with you some of these some of the stories that have come out over the years there on this. So just bear with me here. This was something that kind of come up last minute here for me, and I want you to kind of get an idea of what has gone on this here. Morgan and Morgan, let's see, lawyers who have never settled for less pay nothing. Well, let's see, Florida wrongful death lawyers. I'm just trying to see if we can look at any particular stories that are going on regarding this act. Damages. Let's see the chart here. Florida injury attorney. Let's see here. Florida Wrongful Death Act survivors and damages charts. The whole point is that in the state of Florida, because that they have this bill out there, family members that have had, those family members that have died. And if the person that dies that was treated wrong and or really seriously medically injured very badly, if they don't have any children that they've had since I think that are under the age of 25, then there is no recourse for the family members. It doesn't matter if you've gone through a lot of pain and suffering or not. There's just no recourse. And so it makes it very, very difficult to get justice in the state of Florida when doctors have done such heinous crimes against especially the elderly. Let me just see real quick where we're at on this.
Strict liability, to have affirmative defenses to strict liability.
You recognize Mr. Representative Albert.
So in this case, in the mining,
Okay, still dealing with the mining process right there. So the problem is that if someone does a heinous act of, generally this would be considered under negligence, and the family lose a loved one, and unless that person that passes away, their children are under 25 years old, there just is no recourse. If I'm not mistaken, Florida is about the only state that has this type of law, and I'm just checking on that right now as I'm sitting here.
Section 3, line 46 of your bill, it specifically line up 47 is.
It's really kind of strange, and yes, Florida. That's exactly right. Yes, Florida is unique in having this specific type of restriction, medical malpractice, wrongful death cases. While other states have limitations on wrongful death claims, Florida is the only state to explicitly bars compensation for pain and suffering when an unmarried adult dies due to medical malpractice. So, it's just like totally, I don't know what you would call it, insane or whatever. So there is no recourse whatsoever. And where it says also, most other states allow parents, adult children, or other close relatives to seek compensation in such cases. Florida law is particularly controversial because it only applies to medical malpractice and not to other types of wrongful death cases like car accidents or criminal negligence. So it's about the nuttiest thing you could ever possibly imagine, to think that the state of Florida, it's almost like it's a conspiracy in that state to allow doctors to be able to basically,
Yes, sir.
how would you put it? If doctors know that there are no family members that meet that criteria, that just gives them the green light to be able to do whatever they want, because they know there is no recourse. They know that nothing is going to happen to you as a result, unless it falls under a criminal liability. And there again, we've witnessed that firsthand for ourselves when it comes to criminal liability. It's not hard to buy off those people in power. I'll just leave it at that there. Very not hard at all to buy off people in power. Let's see what we got going on right now.
Section 378, that the Department of Health conducts a survey. What then happens? How is that survey, what information is released on that? Like, what happens after there's a public notice and a survey has been conducted?
You're recognized.
So,
Okay, we're still dealing with that mining issue right there. I do want to say as well, when we're looking at this statute right here, the Florida wrongful death law there, if you are a listener of ours and you are a Florida resident, one thing that we're going to ask is that you contact your state representative and request them to repeal this law. Let me just see what other. Let's see. I didn't, like I said, I was not really prepared. This was something that I found out about, and I was not expecting this to where we could actually air this for you. So I know that there are a number of families. Let's see. Okay. Maybe we can find it like that. There are families that can't get justice in Florida's wrongful death law there. Let's see.
Noticing that this is former phosphate land and that a survey has been conducted, how do those two steps alone prevent impacts to the public and protect?
They say there's a loophole. Let's see if there really is. This is the Herald Tribune. Adult over 25 with no minor children or dies as a result of medical negligence, your family has no legal recourse. On August the 2nd, less than a month after his 51st birthday, Gerald Janilio, a longtime much-loved message therapist, a Longboat Key Club, checked in Sarasota Memorial Hospital for surgery to repair an aneurysm and a leaky heart valve caused by a hereditary condition. 18 days later, at Tampa General Hospital, where he had been transferred by helicopter 4 days after the delicate surgery, was removed from life support, while her son died after this repair surgery. There is no clarity on whether any mistakes were made in the procedure, and Sarasota Memorial officials say he was at risk for an aortic tear. Let's just see, though. Let me check, see what's going on here. I can't quite hear what they're saying here.
Record a notice in the official records of the county identifying the property as former phosphate, and says the recording shall.
Still dealing with the phosphate issue there. So,
that it requires the landowner to
Going back, let's see, where did that one go that we just had? I had that one up here.
I'll work with you.
Oh, goodness.
Representative Skidmore, you are recognized.
Thank you,
Oh.
Mr. Chair. Thank you,
Oh,
Representative.
okay, I was on the right thing.
Along those same lines, I want to make sure, I understand. this whole
Let's see,
process 'cause
her
it's kinda
her
new.
son on the transplant list expired. Let's see, for Gianno's family and Tracy, his girlfriend of 24 years, who asked that her last name not be disclosed, haunting questions remain about what went wrong. As hope for placing her son on the transplant list expired, Shirley Giannano, acting on the advice of a relative, contacted a lawyer. The family wanted to explore the possibility of initiating an independent investigation into the circumstances of Giannano's care and death, but even before she'd finished explaining her situation, the attorney cut her off. Because of little-known exemption, Florida's Wrongful Death Act, neither she nor the next of kin, anyone who was over the age 25, unmarried, without minor children, was entitled to file for medical malpractice suit. Florida law is not on your side, she was told. You have no legal recourse. And this is just how insane. The only state in the union, I mean,
You're
it
recognized.
almost sounds as if politicians got bought off by the medical community in the state of Florida to make sure that they could really be protected. That, or either the insurance companies that have to
Thank you. So
pay
the
out
bill
all
does
of these
require the
suit
developer to
cases there.
inform the unit owner, homeowner, property owner
So
that
we are wanting to cover today's hearing because they are going to be hearing the matter on this in the state of Florida. Might be a little boring for some of you out there, but I think some of you that have followed the case of our own family and what we have suffered as well might find today's hearing very interesting. This is one of the reasons why we are covering this live. Again, I didn't know it was going to be live, but it is, and so we're going to cover this live with you. But I wanted you to be able to see that what this law is about, and showing you this case here in the Herald Tribune, and this family here, their case there, finding out there was nothing they could do. That no doubt left a very painful issue in their heart there to have to deal with that. It is just horrifying to find out that you have a loved one
Connolly, you're recognized.
and that the next thing you know, nothing
With regard to the discussion
can be
on
done.
baseline radiation
So
survey,
let's follow back up here and see what's going on.
the comparison, what is that baseline survey used for?
You're recognized.
Thank you.
Still on the same subject there. So we do know that 4:30 was when they were supposed to start on the issue here about this motion here. We will just stay with this a bit longer and see which direction we're actually going into on this. So I'm going to also check just to make sure that we are live. I know that,
Representative Benarroch, you're
yep,
recognized.
we are definitely live. I just want to make sure you guys were there, and
Thank you, Chair. Rep. Albert, I just want to say thank you.
I'll
for
turn off my volume. That way I can
presentation
just see
of
there.
this bill.
So right there. So,
And I do appreciate
um,
the transparency.
so at any rate there,
Somebody first.
we're looking forward to see how this is going to play out in the state of Florida today. And especially, you have to ask yourself, how can a state get away with something like this? How did this happen in the first place? Now this, supposedly this article here says there's a loophole. Let's see if we continue. We'll continue in this article here. But an exemption within the law prevents the remaining next of kin of any adult child in Florida, anyone age 25 or older, who has no spouse or minor children or adult children or parent who has no spouse from recovering damages for pain and suffering for a wrongful death in the medical setting. In other words, in cases where medical negligence is suspected, only a spouse or minor child may file a wrongful death grievance. in a court of law. The provision is known in the vernacular by a term that many in the health and care and insurance industries find offensive, the Florida free kill law. And no doubt they do find it offensive, but let's face it, that's exactly what it comes down to. Since the exemption means there is no threat of monetary punishment or lax or incompetent treatment in these cases, a dead patient's representatives no financial liability, whereas a severely harmed patient who survives could mean significant liability exposure, thus the label free kill. Florida is the only state in the nation with such an exclusion, given the state's...
They would also fall under this statute. The owner would not be released from potential liability from that.
Let me check.
Because that's unrelated to a radiation survey.
You're recognized.
Thank you. That's
Okay,
correct.
still the
This
same
is,
guy there.
natural reality.
So anyway, the going back to this article right here, Florida is the only state in the nation with such an exclusion, given the state's high population of widowed seniors, unmarried college students, and middle-aged single and divorced individuals whose children are over 25. It is estimated that more than half the state's population falls into the free kill category. At first, Shirley Giannillo and her relatives found the attorney's explanation hard to fathom, as we have ourselves. Surely he must be mistaken, they thought. But after she and the other family members called several other personal injury attorneys and got the exact same response, they realized it must be true. No attorney was going to take a case in which the economic damages could be recovered. After you talk to 3 of them, you have to go, okay, this is the law, she said. They don't want to look into it because there's no money in it for them, and nobody will take it on. So, Ganilio, a 71-year-old hairstylist, who lost her husband to cancer 7 years ago and her only other children to lymphoma 20 years ago, says her motivation in contacting a lawyer was never about seeking money or retaliation. She simply wanted to have someone who was not connected to the hospital conduct an unbiased review of her son's care. She has since sent a letter to Florida Board of Medicine requesting an investigation. I don't want to ruin anyone's reputation, but if something was done wrong, someone should be held responsible, she said. I'm sure they are being as truthful as they can be, but we are interested in looking for an independent person outside the hospital to look into this. And very much she should. We know all too well that doctors will falsify records. I witnessed it firsthand for myself as my father-in-law wrongfully being placed into hospice, having no idea my wife had refused hospice care. I watched the doctor sit there and say, oh gosh, I don't even have medical records on this man. And sat on the bed next to him in a hotel room and filled out his medical history.
You recognized?
Anyway, she goes on, I don't want to ruin anyone's reputation, but if something was done wrong, someone should be held responsible. She said, I'm sure they are being as truthful as they can be, as we already read here, but we are interested in looking for an independent person outside the hospital to look into this. Tracy said she and Ginaldo had talked about marrying many times, including shortly before his surgery. If they'd known about the wrongful death exemption, they would have surely have done so before he went ahead with the operation, she said. An intensively private person, she has no desire to draw more attention to herself or tragic situation. Nevertheless, as she grapples with her loss and struggles to find a way to face each day, she believes it's important to bring attention to a law she considers unjust and to advocate for its change. And that's exactly what we're going to witness here today in the Florida legislative session today. Not because it will provide her with answers she longs for, but because every life matters. Isn't that so true?
Proponent.
Hang on one second.
You recognized.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and the committee. Thank you, Representative Albert, for filing this great bill. Florida's phosphate industry is extremely essential to the state. Our phosphate businesses, which produce a majority of the phosphate used in
Okay,
America,
well, they're still dealing with the phosphate there, so I'm trying to watch this very carefully here. The wrongful death statute evolved from medical malpractice tort reforms the late 80s and early 90s, prior to which there were limitations on who could bring any kind of negligent lawsuit for damages. In 1990, the legislature altered a statute to add the ability for adult children and parents and adult child to bring wrongful death lawsuits in non-medical negligent cases, a right they had not previously enjoyed. But while that meant they could file the suit, for example, their loved one was hit by a drunk driver while crossing the street, the statute specifically excluded medical malpractice lawsuits. Florida legislatures felt that by protecting medical providers from plethora or malpractice suits and escalating liability insurance rates, it would encourage more physicians to practice in the state and lower the cost of health care by reducing malpractice premiums. Can you believe that? So this was put in there for the simple reason is they wanted more doctors in the state of Florida, lower malpractice premiums. You know, the way you lower malpractice premiums is don't allow doctors to do wild, crazy things. Opponents argue that neither of those benefits have occurred and that the exemption has in fact done more harm than good. Instead of attracting the best doctors, they say, Florida has lured physicians who experience malpractice suits elsewhere or had their licenses stripped in other states. They point to the fact that malpractice insurance and healthcare costs have also continued to steadily climb despite the exemption. No kidding. You're going to hear today of that very issue, and it is not going to be a very pretty scene. Still dealing with phosphate. Let's hope that passes soon here. Let me just continue to look at this here while we're at it. The continuality of the law has been challenged in 2000 case. Mizrahi versus North Miami Medical Care Center. The surviving adult children of Morris Mizrahi charged that they had not been afforded equal protection under the law by being prevented from filing a medical negligence suit. Nevertheless, the Florida Supreme Court upheld the exclusion as constitutional, stating the statute's desperate treatment of medical malpractice, wrongful death does bear a rational relationship to the legitimate statute interest of ensuring the accessibility of medical care to Florida residents by curtailing the skyrocketing medical malpractice insurance premiums in Florida. William Large, president of Florida Justice Reform Institute, said he believes the danger in trying to get rid of the exemption could potentially be more detrimental than allowing it to stand. I think the current law could be changed, Large said. It is stakeholder group attempts to tinker with medical malpractice subsection. I suspect the legislation actually might repeal the 1990 amendment that adult children and parents of adult child can sue for wrongful death in a non-medical malpractice context. Jeez.
You're recognized, Mr. Lombardo.
Let's see what happens here.
I'm Andrew Lombardo. I'm a certified health physicist. I practice the management of radioactive material and the risk from radioactive material. For 43 years, I've done various radiation protection programs at sites across the country, and specifically Florida. And Florida has a lot of industries that it's the word we've all been looking for is naturally occurring radioactive material. Phosphate industry has it, and I've had phosphate clients, I've had mineral sands clients, I've had Department of Defense clients in Florida.
Still dealing with the phosphate there, so we will continue to look at this article here. But others don't share his perspective. Melody Page found the Florida Medical Rights Association with Debbie Snowden in 2017 after both women experienced medical tragedies they say cost the lives of their fathers incredulity is a common response when people learn about the exemption, says Page, who in her spare time runs FMRA, a registered nonprofit advocating to eliminate the exclusion. A lot of times people just don't believe you, said Page, who lives in Lake Worth near West Palm Beach. When I say the hospital killed my dad and I can't sue people, say to me, oh, that can't be true. You mean you can't sue because it's hard to prove? No, I can't sue because I'm 47 and single.
Good questions that were asked.
Page's father suffered a complicated grief breaking down after his wife died unexpectedly from influenza one night in November 2016. Emotionally distraught, he was a baker acted to a hospital where he was administered heavy doses of sedatives. Within 3 days, he was dead from what Page believes was an overdose of overlapping medications. I lost them both in a 4-day period, says Page, who is not married and who has a daughter who will turn 25 next year, meaning she will soon fall into the exclusionary category herself. We had a double funeral and it changed my life. Since founding the FMRA, she has heard from dozens of families who have also lost loved ones to suspected negligence, only to discover they had no legal recourse. Among them, a woman whose 25-year-old son recovered from a drug overdose died sitting next to her in a hospital discharge lounge after a nurse removed a PICC line inappropriately, and father whose adult son bled out after a scope thread up his leg inadvertently pierced a femoral artery. A page on the FMRA website, and they give the place here. Make sure we're not
Housing needs and all the like, but right now are compelled to lay fallow because this litigation cloud of strict liability, which means no negligence has to be proven, no wanton, willful misconduct, nothing along those lines. Just the fact that it's there is all that has to be proven, is sufficient to have this cloud to where these lands are not being redeveloped.
Okay, still on the lands.
This provides a process.
And I was told that it may be up to an hour late.
Not been finding that
We are a half hour late already now, so let's hope that very soon they will come to this. Let me go back, though, because there is a lot of information in this here. Later, what I will do, though, for the sake of you that are wanting to see this, we can also get into this issue here. And we'll take, because this is recording as well, and then I'll be able to narrow down this video to a much smaller period so that it's easier for you to see the entire broadcast. So anyway, so she says she has heard of dozens of families who have also lost loved ones to suspected negligence, only to discover they had no legal recourse. We go into that. We already read that there about the PICC line, etc. She says, I know a lot of people want to change this law because they want vengeance. You know, I kind of hate the term vengeance. I don't think that's the proper way. Even in my own family, we don't look at it as vengeance. We look at it as accountability. There needs to be an accountability. My wife has made that very clear. It's only for accountability. It's not vengeance. So, okay, I'm just kind of trying to make sure we don't lose this here. So we go on down here. Page said, but you can't sue backwards. I'm not doing this for the money. We're doing this because we want to ensure patient safety, increase medical accountability, and protect our constitutional rights. Page said she believes the medical malpractice exemption is not only blatant inequitable, but unconstitutional. I agree. Under the principle of equal protection under the law, a growing number of Florida residents, at least those who are aware of the exemption at all, agree with her. She has gathered tens of thousands of petition signatures and forwarded hundreds of letters to Florida Senate and House members requesting the law be amended. You know, you have a hard uphill battle, too, when you've got people with big pockets, big money, that control what's going on in the Florida Senate. You know, you guys in the Florida Senate really, really, really need to pull up the bootstraps and start being real men and women and standing for what's right for your constituents, not because somebody's got a bigger pocket and can make sure your campaign is sponsored very well, but for the people and for the wrong that this bill has done. Last February, Page was in attendance when an amendment that would have removed the exemption made it to the House Florida Civil Justice Committee, proposed by Representative Amy Mercado and attached to a tort reform bill seeking to add additional caps to Florida medical malpractice cases. It drew support from several representatives from both sides of the aisle. Nevertheless, it was shelved after a voice vote called by Civil Justice Committee Chair Bob Romel, Democrat of Naples. This is a fine example.
Representative Albert, I understand what you're trying to accomplish here. I don't think you're there yet. With this bill as written and with the amendment, it really doesn't contemplate anything about.
Sorry about this, guys.
What happens after the survey is
still on the
conducted,
phosphate. Okay.
And if there's anything.
There is a
limit on what future development.
February Page was in attendance. Okay, we got that there. Proposed a Representative Amy Mercado attached to the form bill seeking to add additional caps on the Florida medical malpractice cases. It drew support from several representatives from both sides. Right, we already got that. Okay. This is a fine example of ageism and prejudice against the family unit itself, said Page, who blogged about the rejection on FMRA website. It was clearly put in place with the intent for insurance companies to save money, but at the cost of devaluing human life. The Florida Medical Association, the Florida Hospital Association, and medical malpractice insurers, all of whom were instrumental in getting the exemption carved out in the first place, would face escalating costs if the provisions were eliminated. And they wielded plenty of power, as they always do.
Thank you. And I echo some of the concerns, but I am a soft yes today because I promised you on the floor that I would work with you on this bill and addressing the concerns that I had and that some of my fellow colleagues had. So I do want to see some shalls and some.
Okay, so we continue on here. So Page has yet to find a legislator with sufficient political clout and will to champion the change. What a lot of them say is, I'm not the right person, but if you get this on the bill, I'll vote for it. Says Page on the legislators she's contacted. They're afraid to be on the forefront of it because these insurance companies are so powerful, but I fully plan on identifying those who are trying to keep it in place. And if we can just raise awareness among the public, maybe that's what will help this be changed. Take action. If you're interested in seeing Florida's Wrongful Death Act changed to remove the exemption for single adults over 25 without a minor children, you can. Sign a petition for the Florida Medical Rights.org, petitions FMRA, and sign the letter for the legislators, Florida Medical Rights.org. And I'm going to include these in the description later, not at this moment here, but a little bit later we will include those in there.
I will be a no today, members, and I pledge that I will work with the sponsor to hopefully assuage any of the concerns that I have for the public. Thank you.
Representative Andrade, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chair. And Representative Albert, congratulations on presenting your first bill. In dealing with this industry specifically, we don't have much, if any, phosphate mining, obviously in Northwest Florida. But I've learned things I never thought I would, like bananas emit radiation, and so does beer. I know. This is a vital industry to Florida. It's an industry we should be proud of. And I appreciate the fact that this bill incentivizes good action while at the same time making good use of existing property that right now there is a cloud over. So I want to commend you on presenting your first bill. Thank you for presenting this specific bill. And I hope no one is terrified walking to their car in the sun this afternoon, because it will likely present you with more radiation than you will ever consume from phosphate or phosphogypsum in the future.
Representative Connolly, you're recognized in debate.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Rep. Albert, for this bill.
I guess once we
No,
get
I asked
past
the
all this
common
voting
question
part
previously,
right
and I was
here,
able
then
to
we
actually
should
find a
be able to
statement
get
that,
into the very part
helps
that we've
clarify.
been waiting
It brings
for
to
here.
mind that, it
So
might be
again,
helpful
like
for
I
others
said,
to
if you
understand
are
that the
watching this live,
radiation survey done
keep in mind we will
pre-mining and post
we will be
reclamation. As I understand it, the
lower that
intent
volume
is to
down a little bit
demonstrate
more.
that if mining never occurred, that the radiation wouldn't be any higher.
Let me go back up though to this one lady's website there and see if we can't pull that up real quick.
They're not an issue if they're not mined. This is simply a
There it
recognition
is right
that
here.
mining activity does not create a condition where
I'd
radiation
like to
is
see if she has any other
demonstration that the pre and post
things on her website that she's putting out. Florida Medical Rights Association.
presentation, and thank you very much.
So true, it's so unconstitutional. Are you a free?
Congratulations on your first
Let's
bill,
listen to
and
what this
really
video
by
has to
example, by
say.
working your bill on both sides of the aisle, I really do appreciate it. Makes this process a lot easier. Representative Albert, you are recognized to close.
I am single. All of my children
So
are
I'd like to
grown
thank
up.
everybody for
I am not married.
text.
I am a widow.
It's quick.
My children are all over the age of
Kind of this week we
24.
started, and
I am single.
still had some time.
All my children are over 24 years old. I am not married.
Bill does.
My son is grown.
I'm from
I am single.
All of my children are above the age 24.
I am a Florida freak hill.
mascot was a Fort Meade mine.
I am a Florida freak hill.
Heard of a mine?
I am a Florida freak hill.
But yeah, so this
I
inaugural mine,
am a
my
Florida
grandfather
freak hill.
worked in the mines
I
his whole
am a
life.
Florida freak hill.
I am a Florida
But this
freak hill.
land, I've also been a mayor of a small town, and we need this stuff. So, so what this is going to do is allow us to use this land, and it's very necessary. So, with that, I'm closed.
Representative Albert, closing on HB 585. Faith, please call the roll.
Representatives Anderson,
Yes.
Andrade,
Yes.
Benaroch,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Connerly,
Yes.
Cross,
No.
We are just about past this part.
Fabricio, Gentry,
Yes.
Maggard,
Yeah.
Mayfield,
Yes.
Mooney, Rayner,
I'm a soft yes.
Yes.
Hendrick,
Yes.
Chair Botana.
Yes.
Well, his bill will definitely pass, it's looking like for sure, but this is not the bill that we're concerned about, this free kill law, or as they call it, the Florida Wrongful
Thank you,
Death Law.
members. This now concludes our committee agenda. Seeing no further business in committee, Representative Connolly moves that we rise without objection. Meeting is adjourned.
We'll wait to see here because, like I said, this is. I'm trying to find out what's going on.
Thank you for being here. Eric Chinsman, who will be followed by, real quick,
Looks like we may have it here.
sorry, Daniel Bob. Mr. Chinsman, you're recognized.
I will be very brief. On behalf of the Florida Justice Association, we support this bill. Thank you, Chair Yarborough. Thank you very much for pushing this. And I want to thank the victims for having the courage to speak today. It's not easy. I want to thank the victims for having the conviction to push for this change in the law all these years, all these attempts, all these times.
I think
telling
this
their
is
story.
it. Here we
I
go.
appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Dobb, followed by Carolyn Johnson. Dr. Dobb, you're recognized.
Yes, Daniel Dobby, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. I'm a physician in Panama City, Florida. I operated yesterday evening. I was up all night with a patient. I operated all day today. I finished, got in my car, drove straight here. So I apologize if I look like Columbo, but I feel that way. I am sorry for all those people that had this terrible outcome. But I speak against this.
Dr. Tom, you need to.
All right, I
speak to
apologize.
us.
So I speak against this. I don't know these physicians and I don't know these circumstances, but I know this. I operated yesterday on a tumor in the base of the skull. The patient woke up blind in one eye. It hurts me. The family has expressed to me in their pain and anguish that they will sue me, and I'm sure they will. I didn't intend to hurt anybody. I did the right operation. And I'm a good surgeon. I've been there over 30 years. I've been chief of staff multiple times. My peers have voted me there. I'm representing the FMA and the FOMA as a physician. I helped build and found a surgical center. But this bill will increase costs of healthcare for all Floridians. It will drive new doctors, young doctors, and doctors at the cutting edge out of this state. This is the most expensive state for medical malpractice. It is inconceivable how spending more money and more litigation is going to help patients. These situations may be terrible, and I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying this is not the answer. There are checks and balances, and they do work. This bill does not the current law does not prevent litigation. It prevents litigation for non-economic damages. People can go after their economic damages. That's not what this is about. This is about attorneys getting paid. And if the goal is good health care, we need more physicians and we need more young qualified physicians.
Notice
or we just have to spend a lot more money. Thank you very
the
much.
people
Thank you for
shaking
being
their head no. They're right.
Carolyn
He's totally
Johnson.
wrong on that part.
Florida Chamber of Commerce, followed by David Micah, Florida Hospital Association. Good afternoon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. The Florida Chamber of Commerce shares many of the concerns that you've heard from members of the healthcare industry on this bill as it's currently written and how this might result in a significant increase in litigation, which could have three impacts. One, it would increase medical malpractice insurance rates, which are already highest in the nation. Two, we have concerns that it could lead to higher healthcare costs for consumers. And three, that could result in less options for Floridians because fewer physicians choose to practice in Florida, exacerbating our existing medical professional shortage. We know that this is a very difficult issue that's before you today, and we favored a more balanced approach in the past. We look forward to working with Chair Yarborough on this issue and thank him for how gracious he has been with his time and appreciate the time to share our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. David Micah, followed by Adam Bassford. Good afternoon, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Yarborough, thank you so much again for working with us. Unfortunately, in its current form, we do rise today on behalf of the Florida Hospital Association in opposition to this bill. I do want to thank you, though, Chair, over the last couple of years. Your commitment to having open and honest conversations with us, working on this bill has been incredibly dutiful, but I did want to say that as we started off here. In the current form that we see the bill, we do think there'll be a significant impact to healthcare costs, but I want to talk about what that actually is. And what healthcare is, and these costs will inhibit access. I want to give you some numbers. We've talked about the highest in the state, but I want to talk to you, or in the country rather, but I want to talk to you about what those numbers actually are. In Miami-Dade County right now, currently, they have the highest in the country in multiple different professions. Family practice doctors, emergency room physicians, orthopedists, and obstetricians. For an obstetrician in Miami-Dade County, the monthly premium is over $18,000, more than $220,000 a year for their insurance. And I'm not telling you that for the cost of the premium. We're talking about what that is in building out an obstetric practice. And when you see those, there are real impacts to these decisions. This is a very tough policy conversation to have because we are balancing those things. But when we look at like a rural hospital, they're running on razor-thin margins and don't have the opportunity on some of those expanded costs to eat those and the impact that could have. In no way do I want my testimony today to be construed that we don't believe that those harmed in medical malpractice deserve their day in court and access to court. But we believe that there is that with those non-economic damages skyrocketing as we've seen over the years. We believe that the access to the courts exists for those economic damages. And so unfortunately today, we do ask to oppose this bill. But again, Chair, look forward to working with you both. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Bassford. Is Adam here? Followed by Karen Murillo. Is Karen here? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Adam Bassford with Associated Industries of Florida. And at AIF, we represent every angle of the Florida business community. So from healthcare providers to insurers, to employers who pay for medical costs, to employees that need the services. And so at the forefront of our minds is the quality, the accessibility, and the cost of healthcare. So within the context of this discussion, we support a holistic approach to medical
This has
malpractice.
become
So we believe
a
that the bill
charade.
that we see before us
Look at
today
the
tackles
power
issue of helping
players
those who have been harmed
trying to
by
make
trans
sure that people
but it
have
doesn't really
no
address the very
recourse.
need to ensure that
And
Florida providers are
you're
able
going to hear
continue to provide
today
the quality care we
of the
expect at a cost that is
malpractice
reasonable and accessible to
that
all
will
Floridians. So as
stun
this
you.
bill moves forward, I hope that we can have conversations about how we can take that more holistic approach to this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Karen Murillo. Is Karen here?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're recognized.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll be very brief. Senator Yarborough, thank you for your unwavering commitment to rectifying this issue in Florida law. AARP proudly stands in support of this bill. Thank you.
The following individuals have indicated they'd like to waive their time, but I'll read them. Darcy McGill is waiving in support. Chris Newland, Florida Chapter American College of Physicians, is waiving against. Mark Delegal, Pro Assurance Corporation, is waiving against. Sandra Mortham, the Doctors Company, waiving against. Tony Large, Florida Orthopedic Society, waiving against. Laura Steed, AARP as well, waiving support. Barbara Devane is.
If you look closely there, you may recognize someone there on the second row.
Represent Florida Alliance for Retired Americans. Thank you. George Feju, the Florida Insurance Council, waiving against. Dan Hendrickson is waiving in support. Those are all the appearance forms we have. Senators, we're in debate. Is there debate on the bill? President Pasadoma, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If a hospital, a doctor, or medical personnel commits malpractice that causes the death of a patient, there should be consequences. But there is not enough money in this world that can compensate someone for the loss of a loved one due to medical negligence. If the goal is to raise the standard of care in our state, the answer is to hold the wrongdoers accountable. Writing a check will not fix the problem. Serious penalties should be imposed. Licenses should be suspended or revoked. Doors should be shuttered. That is the only way to keep bad doctors from continuing to practice. I will not be able to support this bill today because it doesn't really hold bad medical personnel accountable. But I do look forward to working with Senator Yarborough to craft a bill that will actually address the problem. Keep bad doctors and bad medical personnel away from patients.
Thank you. Senator Hooper, you recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wow, day one of session. And we need striped shirts on day one to talk about an issue that really, the heartfelt testimony of the loved ones. We believe it's real. We hear you, and we sympathize with you, and can't imagine the heartbreak and the grief that each of you have endured. I want to talk a little bit about, Senator Yarborough and I have had 3 discussions about this bill, 2 in person and 1 over the phone. And I'm going to say that I don't think there's a more honorable person in the Florida Senate than Clay Yarborough. He doesn't file 70 bills, because he can. He picks and chooses those things that are, his heart tells him is the right thing. So, sir, I commend you for being who you are, and will always do that. And in our discussions on this bill, I know he has struggled with how to craft this bill and file it, whether it's caps, without caps. In our discussion, I know I asked him, it's like, Clay, don't ask me to put a dollar amount on the
I'm
value of
beginning
life.
to think that we've missed part of this. Let me jump back.
Do you think that that is the intent of this, to make sure that we're doing that with our cabins when we're building them?
That's still land management, so.
Persistence on this.
I'll have to research that.
You recognize?
Is it to be the sole cause of action?
Members, for those of you who weren't.
Follow up, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, you're recognized.
How many ounces of sand?
Thank you.
Can imagine. So, like President Pasadomo has indicated, I want to help and work with you to make this as good as it can be made. But my commitment to you was that I will support the bill at this stop, and I'm not going to change my mind today. So, thank you all. I know some of you came from a long way away. Thank you all for being here and for your passion testimony. The pain will not go away ever, but we appreciate your time and your testimony.
Additional debate? Do we have additional debate? Seeing none, Senator Yarborough, you're recognized to close on the bill.
Thanks, Chair Burton. Thank you, President Pasadomo and Senator Hooper. Senator Hooper, I'm very humbled by your comments, and I would say if there's any good we can do in the temporary time that we're here, then may the Lord get all the credit. I'm humbled by your remarks. Senators, I realize all stakeholders engaged on this issue are not in agreement, as we've heard today, and I value the candid and respectful dialogue we continue to have. I do remain open and willing to consider changes that some would like to make, though I believe we must pursue a solution that can secure support from both chambers and thus prevent the exceptions from remaining on our books for what would be 36 years if we don't do something at this time. So, again, this bill is about accountability and ensuring our laws are just, and with that, I ask for your favorable support. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we put a roll call on vote, Senate Bill 734?
You know what's sad? I thought we were going to hear from the families, and that's what we were trying to do. So let's see.
Senator Hooper? Senator Leek? No. Senator Osgood?
Yes.
Senator Pasadomo? No. Senator Polsky?
Yes.
Senator Trumbull? Yes. Senator Yarborough?
Yes.
Chair Burton?
Yes.
9 yeas, 2 nays.
By your vote, Senate Bill 734 is reported favorably. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I believe we had do we have? We'll do a brief informal recess. We have one more bill. We're waiting for Senator Bradley to join us.
I'm beginning to think that maybe this did actually pass. Let me see if I can find out anything whatsoever. Okay, from what I'm hearing already, that the speakers had already spoke. I'm trying to see if we've got anything in here, though. What they did, they had us stuck over in this other committee thing, and we did not get to see.
Thank you for being here. Eric Tinsman, who will be followed by, real quick, sorry, Daniel Dobb. Mr. Tinsman, you're recognized.
I will be very brief. On behalf of the Florida Justice Association, we support this bill. Thank you, Chair Yarborough. Thank you very much for pushing this. And I want to thank the victims for having the courage to speak today. It's not easy.
Okay,
I want to thank the victims
we're still
for
not
the conviction
seeing
to push
where the victims spoke
this change
at.
in the law all these
So
years, all
what
these
we'll do
years.
is I'll try to find that for you guys. I thank you for joining me live today, and Let me just see if I can get one answer here.
Dr. Dobby, recognized?
Yes, Daniel Dobby, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for this opportunity. I'm a physician in Panama City, Florida. I operated yesterday evening. I was up all night with a patient. I operated all day today. I finished, got in my car, drove straight here. So I apologize if I look like Columbo, but I feel that way. I am sorry for all those people.
You know, let's see here. That's really terrible, though. Let's see.
So I speak against this. I don't know these physicians.
Let me see if I can actually go back and see. It looks like we don't have it showing. Okay, I can't get anything on here, guys. We'll close the broadcast for now, but I'm sure, though, we will be able to go back and see this later once the program is... We were trying to catch it live. They kept us in that other issue there. Let's see here. So, yeah, we weren't able to catch those that have suffered. That's what we were really trying to get, is that those that have suffered when they spoke. But I'm sure they recorded it, so hopefully we'll be able to share that with you. They got the video library here. Let's just see if we've got anything on there. Oh, gosh. Let's see. I don't want to leave you yet in the event we did get this recorded here today. It's not up as of yet there. I see the environmental natural resources, which is what we had there. Let me just look and see, though. Let's just see. Maybe we'll look up and get something here. No, that's from yesterday, so... Let me just go back here. We will definitely get that for you guys as soon as we can get a hold of the video there. My apologies that we did not get it. But our son actually did speak before the Florida Wrongful Death Committee there, and we're going to air that for you as soon as I can get that information. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and have a blessed day.